Okay, now we have defined our chart of accounts. We will see the currency conversions and exchange rate upload quickly, and then we are going to define one calendar and our ledger. Okay, so now currencies are predefined in the system. You don't need to define the currencies in the system. All the ISO currencies are there. You don't really need to define any currencies. I worked for one of the clients. It was a European-based Bosnia. Some Bosnia country was there. I couldn't find that currency in the system, so I had to create it. But most, like 99% of the currencies in the world are already there in the system. So you'll not find that any currency is not defined. But in case there is some currency which you still want to define, you can go inside manage currency and you can define it here. So let me just quickly search it, and all the currencies are also enabled. So in EBS we need to go and enable the currencies, but it comes like enabled. You just need to check whether it is enabled or not. So what is the symbol, and all those information will be available here. Okay, so this is my currency rate manager. You can define your own exchange rates. So you can define the means exchange rate type. Usually we use a corporate rate or a daily rate or something. So if you are whatever the rate type that you're using, you can define your own rate type and upload the exchange rates to it. So you define your rate type and you go to the daily rate section. In this particular screen, you have this create in spreadsheet. So you can download the spreadsheet. So this is a ADFDI spreadsheet, and when you say connect, you put in your login username and password. And you log into this. So it's really very easy for you to upload the exchange rates. So let's say from currency, whatever is your from currency, use the from currency to currency. Conversion rate is corporate. From conversion date to conversion date. So I can write down the date and say 31 December 2021. So I can write down the exchange rate for each date, or I can give a range. So both the things I can do, and you can define the conversion rate. So whatever exchange rate that you want to give, you can even insert and update. So you can delete the existing one and insert the another one, or you just put in the value again. If you want to re-upload the exchange rate, you don't need to do anything. You just put the new rate and insert it. It is going to override the rate. So you can override as well. So you just put submit. And this is going to upload the exchange rates. So number of records successfully inserted. So you can go inside schedule processes and see the schedule processes is completed or not. So this will kick, import and calculate daily rates. So you have a table called as GL daily rates interface. In everything is successful, it will be imported to your GL daily rates table. So it's very, very simple to upload the rates, and this is how your ADFDI spreadsheet works. So once you first download that spreadsheet, it will ask you to log in, and in FBDI spreadsheets it doesn't ask you to log in anything because this is real time connected to the system. So you can click on submit from this particular screen itself. You can log in, log out. You can save the spreadsheet offline as well. You can if you open it, this spreadsheet which you have saved, you just have to log into it. But usually I don't save it because you can download and save the spreadsheet from test instance, production instance. You might get confused. So usually I download it from the instance again. So
And
really
a VADI, correct, for EVS?
correct. So if we see this GBP to USD and I say January 31st and I say rate type is corporate. So I see 0.667, this rate has been loaded. So similarly, your all the ADFDI spreadsheets would work. When you download from the system, you have to log in, put in the data and upload it. But before this, everybody should download one plugin that is available here. So the plugin is already installed for me, so that's the reason I did not show it. So you have to go inside this tools section. You will have download desktop integration installer. So in the same instance where you have scheduled processes, download this desktop integration tool, run as administrator. So once you download this, right click and run as administrator. If you don't have this tool installed, the ADFDI spreadsheet will not work for you. It will not see the data in the spreadsheet. It will come as a blank spreadsheet. And close all the Microsoft Office things like your PowerPoint, Word or Excel. Just close everything and then install it. Otherwise it will not install properly. Any questions on this, on exchange rates or exchange rate upload or ATFTI? It's very easy to use this spreadsheet template to upload the rates. Okay, now we'll create our calendars.
Anything, Ashish, I just tried to download that integrator on my Mac. It's just not supported right now, so I don't know.
In Mac, I have to check. I'm not quite sure about it.
Okay, but if you get some information, if you can pass on, it would be great help. Yeah.
Yep, I'll do that. I'll ask few folks who are
It's
using
not fully
Mac.
supported Mac. Like I worked in pharmaceutical R&D, a lot of scientists, they could not use any of the upload Excel mechanisms. So we had to give a VM to them to use Windows VM to work on through the VM. So it's through virtual desktop or something. But it's not possible through Mac. It doesn't work all the Excel functions.
Thank you. If you have some guide, if you have some kind of document for installing that piece VM also, if you can send me, that would be great.
Okay, so we'll go to the calendars. Okay, so calendars is pretty straightforward. There is nothing much difficult to understand or create in this. You just create your calendars whenever you want to start it. The frequency is monthly whenever you want to create monthly, quarterly, or even daily if you want that. We'll just create this monthly. This is how we are going to use it, this separator, and any adjustment period that you want to have. So you can have one at the beginning of the year, one at the end of the year, or one just at the end of the year, and you can define it. So calendar is automatically defined. Now it will automatically define the start date, end date, the period names. You just have to go and update the adjustment period name, the quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and you can see this particular checkbox is enabled for the adjustment period. Only adjustment period can overlap with your normal period. Apart from that, none of the periods can overlap. So if you have any dates getting overlapped, system is going to throw an error. This is auto-generated thing, so nothing overlaps. But if you change anything manually in this, system is going to throw an error. Okay, so very easy to define the calendar and just say save.
Ashish, like, what is the best practice to define the calendar, like when we are going live for the first time, like in the middle of year?
So there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind while defining the calendar. That's a very good question that you asked. For example, if you are doing data migration and you want to bring in the data from start of the year, obviously you will define a calendar from start of the year. And even if you're not bringing in the data from start of the year, we'll still define the start of the year, and we can open any period that we want. If we're going live in July, I did one implementation last year, we went live in July, but we still defined the calendar from January, and we just opened the July period.
Okay.
As our first open period. So there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. If you're migrating like 2 years old data, then you need to define your calendar from that particular date.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure.
Like in terms of the period, still it has the same constraint what we have in EBS. Let's say when you wanted to do the translation, you need to make sure you define one more period ahead of the actual period.
Correct. Yes. But in EBS, we have to write down this calendar, start date, end date, everything. But in Fusion, you just click on add year. It is going to add a year quickly for you.
And just one more question. What's your thought on adjustment period? Like how many companies like are using adjustment period, and like what's your thought on that?
Almost every company uses adjustment period. Almost at least one adjustment period everybody uses. And any auditing related adjustments, because once they do their December closing and their audit happens in March, April sometime after a few months. So they will definitely have some kind of adjustment entries that needs to be posted after auditing. So most of the companies I've seen, everybody having one adjustment period at year end. So you can go for one after every quarter also. that is also there. So I've seen few companies doing after every quarter, but yeah, most of them have minimum one adjustment period.
And how about adjustment period versus adjustment laser? If I don't want to use adjustment period, but I wanted to use adjustment laser for all those adjustments.
You can have both. So adjustment period is definitely required for your primary ledgers because you want to pass, you don't want to touch the December balances and you still want to pass some adjustments. So you want to run the trial balance after December, and you also still want to run the trial balance after the adjustment periods for any adjustments. But still you can have another secondary ledger created as an adjustment ledger wherein you can pass additional adjustments. So you can have both in place, like the adjustment period as well as the adjustment ledger.
So technically, I will still use the adjustment period mainly in the adjustment laser, correct? Because I don't want to touch my regular laser.
Right, right. Okay, so this is how you define your calendars.
Question regarding the adjustment period. Are there any compliance need by any regulatory authority? You need to have adjustment period for public limited company or certain size kind of thing?
No, not really, not that I'm aware of. It's not a mandatory statutory requirement, but like businesses choose to have it.
Okay, and usually most of the time you see like quarterly or yearly or it's every month, like or monthly.
Not monthly, not monthly. Monthly is too much. You don't need adjustment period monthly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we will discuss a little bit more about ledgers. Now we have three types of ledgers. We have discussed how do we decide on primary ledger. We have 4 C's of a primary ledger. Now we have completed 3 C's. We are done with our chart of accounts, currency and calendar. Accounting convention, we are going to use a seeded one for now. But on day 3, we are going to completely write our accounting rules and then come and replace that accounting convention in our ledger. So anytime you can come and replace that accounting convention, all the other attributes in the ledger gets fixed. Whatever retained earnings account, calendar, chart of accounts that you give in the ledger, that is all fixed. You can never change it. Accounting convention is one thing you can anytime go and change the accounting rules, and it is going to allow you to change it. So currently when we define our ledger, I'm going to use a standard accrual one, but on day 3 when we define our all the rules, we are going to come and change it on the ledger. Now we have 3 types of ledger: primary ledger, secondary ledger and reporting ledger. We have discussed about primary and secondary. So basically primary ledger is all the entries gets posted to the primary ledger. Now, can somebody tell me why do you need a secondary ledger? We have already discussed a lot of things about secondary ledger. So anybody who can explain me why do you need a secondary ledger? What is the business requirement for having a secondary ledger?
Any C is like different other than currency, then you will going to go for that, or your different chart of accounts, you may also go for that. Or if you only want to segregate your adjustment entries, you may go for that.
But I can still go for another primary ledger, right? If any of the 4 C's is different.
So what I've seen clients is if there are different statutory requirements, then they would go for a secondary ledger.
Okay. So how do we decide whether we go for another primary ledger or a secondary ledger. So first of all, when we define the secondary ledger, we define it on top of a primary ledger, right? So whatever transactions that we put in our primary ledger gets copied to the secondary ledger automatically. If we define another primary ledger, it is not going to get copied into your another primary ledger. We have to run those processes manually, and it can be some duplicate entries and all. So system automatically takes care of whatever is posted in the primary that is posted in secondary or not, with a different representation. So if you define a different representation from primary to secondary ledger, it can be a chart of account difference, it can be a currency difference, it can be whatever accounting convention differences is on. So you can pass the entries from a primary to secondary ledger having different accounting representation, having different currency, having different chart of accounts. So based on the chart of account mappings and the rules that you have written, system is going to account those transactions. Now there can be certain scenarios like we discussed yesterday already about the scenario. So we also have a diagram here to explain this. Let's say you have operations in 3 countries, in India, in US and in UK. So you have obviously primary ledgers for all these 3 countries, US, UK and India. And the currencies for each country is INR, USD and GBP. They're using the same maybe 13 periods calendar. It can be a different calendar, it can be a same calendar. You can use the accounting conventions differently or same. So we have IFRS being used in all the 3 countries, and you have the same chart of accounts. And your headquarters is UK. Now we discussed this scenario yesterday also, I'm just explaining this again. Now in this scenario, we want to consolidate for management consolidation and statutory consolidation. We have created 2 different ledgers in this scenario, and there can be some additional entries that we need to pass or additional adjustments we need to pass for statutory consolidation purposes, any eliminations or anything. But for management consolidation, we don't need to do all those things. So we have created 2 different ledgers. But now we cannot transfer the data from our primary ledgers to these consolidation ledgers. We need to first bring this data into the level of my UK primary ledger. That is, we have to convert everything to GBP, and in the UK calendar, whatever the calendar that we have used, we are using the same accounting convention. If we would have used a different accounting convention, then we would have to translate the balances into that particular convention and a different chart of accounts if required. So you create a secondary ledger on top of your India and US primary ledgers, and then from all the secondary ledgers, India and US secondary ledger and UK primary ledger, we will run a program called as transfer balances from this ledger. We have a transfer program from one ledger to another ledger. So when you run that particular program, automatically all the balances will be transferred to your consolidation ledger. Right? So in this scenario, we still have 3 primary ledgers because we operate in 3 different countries. But for any reporting requirements or any other reasons, we want to have the same accounting, same transactions, just representing in a different format, in a different currency or a convention or a calendar or whatever it is. Right? I hope this part is clear, the primary ledger, secondary ledger and all those things. Okay. Now we can also create a reporting currency ledger in case when we do not have a chart of accounts, a calendar or a convention difference. We just have to represent the balances in a different currency. That process is also called as translation process. If you just want, you're using the same, means all the 3 C's are same, only the currency is different. So instead of creating a secondary ledger, you can create a reporting currency ledger. Okay, so you don't need to create any secondary ledger, you can just create a reporting currency ledger.
Ashish, like if you go back to the screenshot, I mean the ledger screenshot. So here, like here for India, why we created a secondary ledger instead of reporting currency? Remaining three are same, right? Only currency is changed.
So here you have UK monthly calendar as well, right? So we call this as India monthly calendar, and here we have UK monthly.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, sorry, I missed it. Thanks.
Right, but if you have that scenario, you can still create a reporting currency if you have the same calendar here. That would also work.
Thanks.
Missing some screenshots. Okay, I think one of the slide is deleted here. That just trying to find out. Yeah, it is moved further ahead. Okay, so now when we create a secondary ledger, it can be of 2 types or 4 types. Now secondary ledgers can be created at adjustment only level, subledger level, journal level, and balance level. If you want only the balances to be transferred to secondary ledger, you can create it at the balance level. If you want all the GL journals to be transferred to the secondary ledger, you can create it at the journal level. If you want all your subledger transactions to be transferred to your secondary ledgers, it can be an external or internal subledgers data. So you can select the subledger transactions also getting replicated to your secondary ledgers. And if you just want to pass only adjustments, you can create an adjustment only secondary ledger. Similarly, same things are available for your reporting currencies as well. So you can create your reporting currencies at all these levels. So whatever secondary ledger or reporting currencies, if you want the subledger journals or subledger transactions also to get transferred in a different representation, you can do that as well.